here? How many of you are glad to be here? Woo! All right. Guess what? In Psalm 122, it says, I was glad when they said to me, let's go up to God's house. I kind of paraphrase that. But first person that comes to your mind, just maybe, they would be glad if you asked them to go up to God's house with you. Maybe they want what you've discovered. Maybe they want the joy of the Lord that you found. Doesn't hurt to ask, right? They might be glad to be here too.
I will not faint. He is my shepherd, I am not afraid. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord will be my strength. He will uphold me all of my days. I am surrounded by mercy and grace. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord will be my strength. I will not waver, walking by faith. He will be strong to deliver me safe. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Oh, my Father, I thank you for today and the sunshine you brought to me to chase the clouds away. Looking at creation, God, what can I say? I hear the birds, I see the trees, I feel the wind at play, and it's only just another day. Like all the thousands you've made since
Are when they hit that cowbell. We charge them $1 a hit for fundraising. So, I mean, that's a lot of money, Rudy. Thank you.
stood before creation, eternity in your hands. You spoke the earth into motion, my soul now to stand. You stood before my failure, sin weighed upon your shoulders, my soul now to stand. say? What can I do?
What can I do?
But offer this heart, oh God, completely to you. So I walk upon salvation, your Spirit alive in me, my life to declare your promise, my soul now to stand. So what can I say?
What can I say?
What can I do?
What can I do?
But offer this heart, oh God, completely to you. So what can I say?
What can I say?
What can I do?
What can I do?
But offer this heart, oh God, completely to you. So I'll stand with arms high and heart abandoned, in awe of the one who gave it all. I'll stand, my soul, Lord, to you surrendered. All I am is yours. Yes, I'll stand with arms high and heart abandoned, in awe of the one who gave it all. I'll stand, my soul, Lord, to you surrendered. All I am is yours. Yes, all I am is yours. Oh, all I am is yours. So what can I say?
What can I say?
And what can I do?
What can I do?
But offer this heart, oh God, completely to you. Please be seated.
Goodness, thank you, worship team. Thank you. Whew. Good morning, Dayton Christian Church. You don't have to applaud for me. That's okay. It's really all right. No applause necessary. No, thank you. Thank you, worship team. And thank you for showing up in person. Thank you for showing up online and worshiping with us today. Turn over to Daniel chapter 6. That's where we're going to be. We are at the journey's end. It's all roads have led us to this moment, this story of stories. It is years ago, I think like 10 years ago, a prominent Christian magazine sent out a survey, rank the top stories in the Bible, and this was number 3. This was number 3 on the list. Lost out to the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. I suppose those are pretty significant stories, but Daniel and the lion's den, and this is it. And I'm nervous. I may look a little tired this morning. I got up at 5 a.m. I wanted to watch the men's basketball team. They're playing France. I thought, easy game, and we get to beat France. This is awesome. That's worth waking up for. We lost. The men's basketball team's not supposed to lose in the Olympics. We're not supposed to lose to France. So now I'm nervous. I don't know if that's an omen. You're not supposed to preach a bad sermon out of Daniel 6, so I hope I don't follow their lead. While you're turning over there, few announcements, really important. A lot of exciting things happening at Dayton Christian Church, and we want you to know because we want you to be excited and come along this journey with us. This last Sunday was the first time our new men's ministry got together, 14 guys getting together to pray and talk about the future of this exciting ministry and map out what it's going to look like. And we have a plan. We've got a fearless leader and Darren leading us on. And he's shaking his head. Do not mention my name, Pastor Josh. Don't do it. He's one of the most humble guys I know in this room. And that's why he is the best person to lead us through. And we are going to be meeting monthly. And our first time meeting is going to be Sunday, August 1st at 6:30. We will have dinner. Ladies, we will serve dinner at these. So you can tell your husbands, it's nothing come out of this kitchen unless you make it. So you have the night off as far as I'm concerned. Send them our way. It's men's ministry or drive-through window. Take your pick. But we're getting together. We're getting together for about an hour and a half, and it's just guys getting together, praying for each other, talking through things, sharing experiences, a little bit from the Word, and just enjoying each other's company. And it's an opportunity for us to do what we were meant to do, and that is sharpen each other, learn from each other, and lead. And I'm excited about what this will mean for families in Dayton and in Yamhill. I'm excited about what it means for us as a church, and I'm excited about this group. And now we complement already the DCC women that are going strong, and excited about what those ministries have in store for us. So August 1st, that's when we're going to be meeting, 6:30, and hopefully we see even more than 14 faces this next time around. If you've been anywhere on campus here at Dayton Christian Church, you've noticed that things are changing. If you haven't, go look at Family Ministries. This is crazy. It looks like the train has literally left the station because Vacation Bible School is on. It's on starting tomorrow, and we are excited. If you are interested in helping, if you are interested in taking a week out of your life and really impacting kids for the rest of theirs, please see Jessica Flood today. We need to see you today. We need to make sure that you are good to go, background checked, all of those things, and there is plenty of help to be had. Vacation Bible School is happening every single day this week from 9 a.m. to 12:30. We're going to have a great time with the kids. I've already seen some of what they're going to be learning. It's awesome. It's incredible. And we're just missing you. If you know of kids, if you have grandkids, children, if you have some in your neighborhood, invite them. Invite them. They can go to our website, pre-register, or just come and show up. We're ready either way. We're just so excited about that. And I'm so thankful to Jessica, who has just poured her time, energy into this team, into this event. And the other day she was like, "You're doing so much." And I'm like, "Jessica, I've never done so little in VBS, and it's because of you." And I'm just so grateful for her. And so if you see her today, give her a smile, say thank you, because, man, she needs all the energy she can get as we go into this week. And how many of you remember going to VBS as a kid? Raise your hand. So you know how impactful that is because you're here. And that was the start of your journey, and I'm excited about it being the start of so many kids' journey. Friday of next week from 4 to 8, we're doing something really fun. We are ending our VBS with a splash, with a big carnival. And here's the temptation. The temptation to think is this is for kids only, or this is just for other families in the community. This is for you. I want to see all of you there. And I know how to get you there. There will be a dunk tank. There will be a pie station. Now, the pies are not for eating. They're for putting in the face of your favorite elder, including yours truly. They got me. I'm technically an elder. I said, I'm more of a junior, but you're gonna have an opportunity to I don't know why you would want to dirty up this mug right here. I don't know, maybe it would be an improvement, but so if that's not incentive enough, we're going to have some great food and music and fun. We're going to have all kinds of just great things for kids there. This is just an awesome way to not only end VBS, but launch an exciting children's ministry in the fall and a great opportunity for us to just have a great time. And so please, if you've not made plans for next Friday, you have them now. Bring yourself, bring your family, your neighbors, everyone you know. Let's make this just an exciting event for all of us in the community to come and join. And there'll be opportunities to support some ministries here as well. And speaking of which, one opportunity is this little slip. You know, we're accustomed here to having donuts just as a little, conversation starter or finisher. And the worship team is doing this awesome fundraiser. They brought in Krispy Kreme. They brought in the big guns. I've noticed in Dayton there are no donut shops, so, they're taking advantage. And if you want to order those, maybe for work, maybe for a thank you to a neighbor or a friend or someone, that's a great opportunity. Steve Belinsky's heading that up, and he's got order forms, and he can get you going on that. Last announcement, promise. Sunday, September 12th is going to be a special Sunday here at Dayton Christian Church. We will not be getting together at 9. We will not be getting together at 10:30. Some of you are like, is it Easter again? I thought Easter was a few months ago. No, it's not Easter. This fall, we are launching a new sermon series. We are going into a new season. We are going into a return to school, a return to kind of the end of summer with worship on the lawn. We're going to get together outside for a great time in worship at 10 a.m. So if you come at 9, that's okay. You'll just be here early. If you come at 10:30, you're going to be late. So 10 a.m., and we're just going to enjoy some great worship. We're going to have a wonderful just picnic out there, outside together, and then enjoy some more music throughout the day, food, revelry. It's just going to be a great opportunity. And why? For what? It gives us one more unique way to invite people to experience church, to invite people to experience worship. As people are coming back from summer and a busy summer, man, has it been a busy summer. This is just a wonderful event to say, welcome back to church, and come and worship with us in a unique way right on the lawn, and we're really looking forward to that. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we always got to be ready for rain. So we got this beautiful building to retreat into just in case. And I know we have an art department in that kids ministry. They'll just turn this into a lawn, I'm sure. But no, we're excited about September 12th at 10 a.m. And we'll have more information as we get closer. Daniel chapter 6, that's where we're at. As we have considered this summer what it means to be fierce. What it means to just convey that heartfelt emotion. That powerful intensity. And for that to be evident in our faith. And we've seen it. We've seen it in the lives of Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. We've seen it in the life of Nebuchadnezzar being humbled to the point of a beast. We've seen it as empires have risen and fallen. And we've seen all along the way that no matter what is happening, no matter what kind of chaos, no matter what kind of tumult, no matter what is going on, when the people of God are faithful, God shows up for them. Because that's the thing. As fierce as we want to be, and should be, and must be compelled by this story, God is even fiercer. God's love for his people is even fiercer. Even more sure, even more faithful. And I hope you have seen it and experienced that. And I hope that this time in the Word and this time in Daniel has brought you to that. It has brought you to that place in life. And if it hasn't, this is it. This is the moment. This is the story. There is no greater story in the Bible than this one when it comes to being fierce. And it starts with transition. The end of Daniel chapter 5 is clear. Belshazzar, the last king of Babylon, he falls, he dies. And a new king comes to power. His name is Darius the Mede. At the ripe old age of 62 years old, he takes over the kingdom of Babylon. And the interesting thing about him is he rules at this time, and scholars and historians and the people that geek out on the History Channel, this is been a confusing time for them to piece together and narrate, and there's so many things in the world, that there are so many historical pieces that are missing, but as best as we can tell, this is one of those few times in human history where there seems to be like two people running the kingdom. The vast empire. It stretches the known world, the Persian Median Empire. And we know one of them, Cyrus, he's the guy that's telling everybody, go back to your homes, go back and worship your God, rebuild those temples. And then there's this guy. And his story is going to be so intertwined with Daniel. But these are the details that we miss, we don't think about, and you're going to come to see it's going to be so crucial and important to why things play out the way they do. It says in Daniel chapter 6, Darius thought it would be a good idea to choose 120 governors who would rule his kingdom. Talk about delegating. He chose 3 men as supervisors over the governors, and Daniel was one of the supervisors. The supervisors were to ensure that the governors did not try to cheat the king. And Daniel showed that he could do the work better than any of the other supervisors and governors, so the king planned to put Daniel in charge of the whole kingdom. Man, imagine that. That's crazy. That's crazy. And we read that, and we just don't pause for a second and think about what that means. Where did this guy come from? We know now. He was that teenager that was just plucked from his homeland, his home country that sadly wasn't even a country anymore. He's in exile. He's a refugee. He could have easily ended up a slave, building structures for Nebuchadnezzar instead of ruling Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. But God had other plans for him. And it's been a wild ride, serving a king that could go from being obedient to God to being a total megalomaniac and even thinking about mass murder, like overnight. He's had a lot to deal with. And he's seen one of the greatest who ever lived come and gone, and he's seen one of the worst that's ever lived come and gone. He's seen it all. And he's been right there. And he's grown. And he's ready for this moment. And this is the part of the story when we think of the lion's den, this whole drama that never gets talked about. We always talk about Daniel and the lion's den. When we talk about VBS, you see that like cardboard cutout or animated figure of Daniel. He's always a man of like in his 50s or 60s. He's still got brown in his hair, all of that. So I just want to be really clear. Daniel is in his 80s at this point. He is an old man. One of the reasons why he's so effective at leading is he's seen it all. He has seen it all. And he has a ton of experience. And what I love is that he's trustworthy. If there was ever anyone in the Bible, as far as God's people are concerned, who could have been jaded, who could have given over to conspiracies, who could have been bitter, it would be Daniel. And we know from last Sunday, he's never actually going to return to Jerusalem. And he doesn't because he sees his place, he sees his role so clear, and that is, God has put me in a position to lead and lead strong in my community. And what is my community? It's a community of other leaders. That's what God did with this person. And we should pause and think about that because I believe that's what God is doing with so many of you at your workplaces. We have people in this church that are in the school district, teachers, and have been for a while and have a lot of influence. And some of you run your own businesses and you employ people and you know what it's like to be responsible for the food that's on other people's tables. And some of you travel and you know people not just here in this little slice of Oregon, but all the West Coast, and some of you all over the country and world. God has placed so many of you, and in fact, quite frankly, all of you, in a position to be incredibly influential in at least the life of someone else. And what makes Daniel so great is not the fact that he could interpret dreams, and it's not the fact that he could encounter and live through such miraculous circumstances. That's what we remember these stories for, but what really made him fierce is that he understood his influence, and in faith he used it. I hope you'll be inspired. I hope this series, I hope these stories have inspired you to do the same. Because the people you have influence over, I don't. Elders in this church might not. You are the bridge to someone hearing, knowing, and believing the gospel. That's the power you have. That's the power Daniel had. How can we not be fierce? But because this is government, and because there's a lot of jealousy in government, we have verse 4. Other supervisors and governors tried to find reasons to accuse Daniel about his work in the government, but they could not find anything wrong with him or any reason to accuse him because he was trustworthy and not lazy or dishonest. And finally, these men said, "We will never find any reason to accuse Daniel unless it is about the law of his God." Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that scripture. I love that. Because Daniel's faith was more than just Bible knowledge, more than just songs he listened to on the radio. His faith inspired his everyday actions. That was his worship. That was his influence. It mattered how he lived his life. Think about it. Daniel had no church building he could go to. The temple was destroyed, and he'd never see it again anyway. But he used his life and he allowed his faith to influence his life so fiercely that when people tried to find wrong in his life, they couldn't. The only thing they could do is say, how can we exploit his faith? Because based in our world, in our culture, in our values, we can't find any fault. God's looking for believers like that. God's looking for believers in this generation to be like that. Don't make no question about it. He's looking for people that care about the world around them. He's looking for a church that's in the game and is involved, that hasn't just written it off, that's not just cold and indifferent to people's lives. I don't know about you, but I'm tired. I've seen that version of the church, and it's neither attractive nor where anybody really wants to be. And we know we know there's more to the gospel than that. We know the story of Jesus. We know the story of the prophets. We know the story of these great Bible heroes. They were great, not because they sat in some ivory tower or some Bible college or some church office and memorized verses all day and were good little boys and girls and never got out in the community. Man, they were great because they lived, and they lived fiercely. God's looking for people like that. He's looking for a church like that. And so they said, how do we get him? How do we get him in his faith? How do we manipulate it to where his faith will be a detriment to the king and to our people? So they go to the king and they butter him up. King Darius, live forever. The supervisors, assistant governors, the people who advise you, the captains of the soldiers, they've all agreed that you should make a new law for everyone to obey. We're all on board with this. For the next 30 days, no one should pray to any god or human except you, O king. Anyone who doesn't obey will be thrown into the lion's den. Now, O king, make the law and sign your name to it so that it cannot be changed. Because then it will be a law of the Medes and Persians and cannot be canceled. So King Darius, because he is a human being, because he's the head honcho, because he is like every other governor, president, prime minister, grand poobah that ever existed, he goes, yeah, that sounds good. People worshiping me, that sounds like a great idea. What could possibly go wrong? Put my signature on that, pass it, proclaim it to the people. And this is everything you need to know. It's a law of the Medes and the Persians. The whole empire sees this. So he has to own this. There's no getting out of this. But why would he? This law is about him. It's like National Darius Mead Day. I want to celebrate that. Maybe we get some free mead in there. I'm not sure. Sounds like a great idea. But Daniel, he knew that the new law had been written. He knew what was going on. This didn't catch him by surprise. How would it catch him by surprise? He's like one of the three people in charge. He's seeing this thing debated in Mede-Persian Congress, whatever that looked like. So what did he do? Did he go out on the floor and fight with all those people? Did he start some kind of campaign? Did he have rallies all across the empire? No, this is what he chose to do. This is how he combated it. He went to pray in an upstairs room of his house. And the windows where he prayed opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times each day, Daniel would kneel down to pray and thank God, just as he always had done. And that's everything. I mean, if nothing else I've preached on these last few weeks, if nothing else we've seen, know this. He, I suppose, had more ability to argue, debate, fight this asinine law that helped no one, by the way. It's just a love letter to this king, and all for his ego. And he didn't. Why? Why wouldn't he fight this? Doesn't he understand that this is bad for all the people, all the Jews living in this time? They all have to worship this king now. How could he betray his values? Why wouldn't he fight? That's the argument we're having today in our world. That in order to live our values, we have to fight, and fight about as dirty as the other side. That's what we're being challenged to do. And the problem I have with that mindset is it's not Daniel's. It's actually not any of these righteous people living in the Bible. What do they do when the chips are down? What do they do when they're faced with these impossible odds? What do they do when they're faced with a situation like this? What do they do when the government is coming down and trying to cram something down their throats they don't like? What do? They pray. And they thank God. And I'm not trying to make myself feel bad. This is usually me. I'm usually complaining. Oh, man, I got to address this. I got to work through this. What am I going to do? What would it be like when I see something I don't like? Maybe it's something I don't like in Oregon. Maybe it's something I don't like in this country. Maybe it's something I don't like in this world. Maybe it's the United States men's basketball team losing to France when I've gotten up for them at 5 in the morning. I don't know. What would it be like if instead of complaining and thinking selfishly about how this impacts me, what if I chose to turn in faith fiercely to God and offer it up in prayer? And then also to thank God to be so lucky and blessed, to be an example for him at a time when, quite frankly, that faith, those values, that life is contrary to maybe what other people are doing. What would it be like to be so grateful? I suppose it would be like Daniel in this story. And they're hiding in the room. They're looking for him. You know, they're ready because this was his habit. He always did that his whole life. They knew what to look for. And so the men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king and talked to him. What a bunch of, they are like the little brothers. I know this because I was a little brother. That's just like, Daniel's praying. Aren't you going to do something? So annoying. But this is where they get him. This is where they show that they are smarter than the king. King Darius, didn't you sign a law that says no one may pray to any god or human except you, O king? Doesn't it say, let's get that law out here so we can read that. Put your glasses on, king. Doesn't it say that anyone who disobeys during the next 30 days will be thrown into a lion's den? Side note, why do they even have lion's dens? Why do they even have this? Was this like the early days of zoos? I don't have an answer, by the way, for you. If any of you know, come find me after the sermon today. I'd love to know. It's crazy. And the king answered, I suppose with sorrow, yes, that is the law. The law of the Medes and the Persians. It can't be canceled. Daniel, one of the captives from Judah, is not paying attention to you, O king. or to the law you signed. Daniel still prays to his God. And at this, the king became very upset. He wanted to save Daniel. And he worked hard until sunset trying to think of a way to save him. And those men went to him as a group and said, "Remember, O king, the law of the Medes and Persians that says no law or command given by the king can be changed." And you've noticed throughout this message, I keep saying the Medes and Persians, the Medes and Persians. When I was a kid and I was hearing this story, I always thought it was weird that the king just couldn't change his mind. He makes the laws. They live by the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. Nobody has more gold than the king. King can do it. But here's the thing. He's not the only king, is he? And these are dangerous times. We've seen it. We've seen it, how these people live. We've seen how these people rule. Next time you're tempted to think that we don't have the best game in town living in 2021, and I know our justice system is far from what it should be, but just in case you start to complain, just remember there's no court in the land that can throw people in lions' dens and fiery furnaces. This is a rough time to just be alive. And this king knows that the moment he tries to rescind that law, he's lost power. He's king no longer. Cyrus will run the whole show. That's what's happening. That's why he is in a bind. And he's sober and he mourns because how could he be so stupid? How many times do we have to see this play out over and over and over again, whether it's Nebuchadnezzar, whether it's Belshazzar, now whether it's Darius, and varying degrees of goodness. Based on what we know, Darius was a good man, but he had an ego, and it was pride that was his downfall. How many times do we have to learn that as human beings? We aren't important next to God. We're not worthy of worship. Even the best of us, even those of us that we really like, we're not worthy of that hero worship. And every time one of them steps in and makes it about themselves, bad things happen. And I suppose every time we try to make our relationships about ourselves, we try to occupy that throne instead of God. Every time we make it about our kids, every time we make it about even this community, every time in the church we try to make it about one of our golden calves, we will fail. Because at the end of the day, it's about God and his glory. And those who lived that, like Daniel, like his friends, like those who remained faithful during this time, even when they were considered nothing more than captives. Notice that. People were like one of the captives. They never could see him as an equal. They could never see him as a superior. Even when the world doesn't give them the credit, look who elevates Daniel. It's God. And I don't know about you. I would rather have God elevate me. I'd rather have God look at me and say, "Gosh, well done, good and faithful servant. Oh man, you're killing it." I would rather have God saying that than just someone else. And this king, he had to learn that the hard way. And he's in a bind. He doesn't know what to do. And so this is what he says. He gives the order. Daniel's brought in, thrown in the lion's den. And the king said to Daniel, "May the God you serve all the time save you." A big stone was brought out and placed over the opening of the lion's den. And the king used his signet ring and the rings of his royal officers to put special seals on the rock. This ensured that no one would move the rock and bring Daniel out. Then King Darius went back to his palace. He did not eat that night. He did not have any entertainment. And he could not sleep. And here's the thing. This is what's so lousy about this. So we all know what happens, right? Daniel lives. But I want you to suspend disbelief for just a second. And I want you to realize who this story is really about. We think it's about Daniel and the lion's den. We think it's about that old man in the lion's den. But it's actually not. This story is about Darius. He's done the wrong thing, and he's now living with the consequences, and he is responsible for the death of a righteous man and someone that he could trust above no one else to run the country at a time of just great peril. What must it have been like to stay up all that night? What must it have been like to sit at that table, to see food in front of you and not be able to eat it because you have so much regret? What must it have been like to not be able to flick on the TV? Not tonight. No show that's going to calm these nerves. What must it have been like to sit in silence and wonder if there really is a God that can save you? This story is about him because this story is ultimately about us. Every single one of us finds ourselves in that place in life. Every single one of us. We get there different ways. Some of us get there because our marriages fail. Some of us get there because our kids don't return our calls. Some of us get there because we've screamed at our kid at a baseball game and everybody saw it and we feel shame. Some of us get there because we got fired because we came to work drunk. Some of us get there because we got the pregnancy test in our hands. We're 16 years old and we don't know how to tell mom and dad. And some of us get there because at the end of the day, we realize that with everything in the world and all of its advances and all of its graces and all of the incredible things that we're capable of, we see nothing but a world of despair and fighting and debate and disgust. And we think, man, is this really the best we can do? Every single one of us as human beings gets to this place where this king is. Amen? And you know this because this is the moment when the gospel becomes real. And for many of you in this room, that's the moment you turn to Jesus. That's the moment. Maybe it happened at a camp. Maybe it happened in a church building. Maybe it happened at a kitchen table. Maybe it happened in the middle of the night laying in your bed. Some of us, we hit rock bottom. Some of us raised in the church and we realize the truth. And everywhere in between. We are all different. We all come from different backgrounds. But we all come to this universal place of common ground where we realize I am not good enough. I make mistakes. I cannot save myself. Oh man, God has saved me. God has delivered me. I'm putting my faith in that. Now I'm talking about you. I want you to think about the people that have not gotten there yet. Because there are so many more people in our community like that. They're still in that dark place. They are still in that hard night. They are still in that mode where King Darius is. And I do say King Darius, he's the most powerful person in that slice of the world, and he couldn't feel lower. He couldn't feel more humbled. It does not matter how important you are in the world. When you size yourself up to God and the problems of this world, you are insignificant. And we know that in our soul. And there are a lot of people feeling like that right now. And here's what you tell them. Here's the answer. Because that's what this story is about. The next morning, the king got up at dawn and hurried to the lion's den. He came near the den. He was worried. He called out to Daniel, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God that you always worship been able to save you from the lions?" Oh, how long that silence must have been, like an eternity, until he heard, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel to close the lions' mouths. They have not hurt me because my God knows I am innocent. I never did anything wrong to you, O king." And King Darius, he was happy. And he told his servants to lift Daniel out of the lion's den. He's in his 80s. Do it gingerly. Get the walker. So they lifted him out, and they found no injury on him because Daniel had trusted in his God. We think the miracle is Daniel being saved from the lions. It is a miracle. I do not recommend you walk into a lion's den. Please do not go up to Portland to the Oregon Zoo and climb the fence. Things will not end well for you, okay? I cannot promise Gabriel and all the angels will come and save you. That's not what this sermon is about. But it is a miracle. But that's not the miracle. The miracle is this. Then the king commanded that the men who had accused Daniel be brought into the lion's den. They, yes, their wives, their children, they were thrown in. Oh, this is getting dark. The lions grabbed them before they hit the floor of the den, crushed their bones. And Darius wrote a letter to all the people, all the nations, to those who spoke every language in the world. He said, I wish you great peace and wealth. I am making a new law for people in every part of my kingdom. All of you must fear and respect the God of Daniel. Daniel's God is the living God, and he lives forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed. His rule will never end. God rescues and saves people and does mighty miracles in heaven and on earth. He is the one who saved Daniel from the power of the lions. And this is the end. Daniel was successful during the time of Darius and Cyrus while they were kings. In that long night of the soul, when Darius was in the worst place any human being could be, he ran to what he thought was a tomb where a rock had sealed in death. And what did he find? He found life. That is not an accident. That is not an accident. This is more than just a coincidence. And for every person that we have an influence over, every person that we could help, that we could bring hope to, it's that same story, but it's even greater. It's the story of men and women coming to a tomb expecting to see and experience death. And a stone was rolled away. And they heard the words proclaimed, He is risen. He is not here. He did just as he said he would. Isn't that amazing? And so what we have at our disposal as Christians, as believers, as people just absolutely changed by the God, the living God, the God of Daniel, the God of you, is the same miraculous power. And it is to pull people back from that darkness and to bring them into light. That's why we have to be fierce. I mean, that's why we have to be fierce. It can't be a choice. As a church, as Christians who know the truth, who know what God is capable of, we can't live any other way. And thanks to Daniel and so many others, but thanks to Daniel, we know how to do just that. And yeah, I didn't turn the story G-rated. People were like, I don't remember in VBS hearing about all those rulers and their wives and children being thrown in the lions. And yeah, it happened. Because there are consequences to how we live. Real consequences. We can't look away from that. Don't look away from that. Understand what Satan's objectives are. Understand where our enemy wants us to be, wants people to be, wants our world to be. That's his end game. God's is different. It's to save lives. That's what Daniel was capable of. That's what he did. That's what you can too, if you choose. Heavenly Father, you shut the mouths of lions. And Father, we know that you'll shut the mouths of liars, manipulators, people around our world that are sowing seeds of discord, mistrust. You'll do that again. all the more important that we live fiercely with the truth on our side and with hope in our hearts, ready to pull people back from that long, dark night of the soul where sin confuses and where hopelessness reigns. Father, with the same power you used to deliver that old man in the lion's den, may you work through us, your church, to deliver soul after soul, life after life, family after family. We can do it, and we can do it fiercely, not because of who we are, but because of who you are, and because of the name above every other name, the name of which that stone rolled away, Jesus. Amen.
For Darius moment, now's a good time to just bring it before the Lord. If you're at home, please take a moment to get something to eat and drink. Servers are going to be passing out the bread and the juice for communion. And in a minute, one of the elders will come up and lead us in taking this together. Hello, Scott. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of the depths, I cry to you. Oh God, please hear my voice. Stand before you, God, and blessed by your mercy and grace. Your unfailing love is my only hope. To see you face to face. Holy, holy, holy you are. Holy, holy, Almighty God. Out of the depths, I look to you. Who else would plead my cause? You alone have rescued me. You alone are my God. Will turn my eyes from worthless things and set my sights on you. Teach me all your ways, oh God, that lead me to your truth. Holy, holy, holy you are. Holy, holy, Almighty God. Out of the depths, you lift me up and set me on solid ground. You are pleased to hold me up when nothing can tear me down. Now I have fixed my hope on you and trust in you alone. You've given me a brand new heart and made that heart your home. Holy, holy, holy you
It's always fun trying to figure out how long it's going to go. So I always get up here and then it's like, dang, I missed it again. So great job. I love when that singing, the songs are up there and stuff. If you didn't know, I'm an ag teacher, so certain things hit me in different ways. This week I was in the greenhouse. This little butterfly I did not kill for my presentation today, so I found him this way, okay? So this little butterfly, to me, it was in the greenhouse, and the greenhouse was super hot, and I think probably, and he landed, and he must have landed perfect because he was totally straight, flat, just like you'd want to have him, right? And it dawned on me how beautiful butterflies are. I've seen a lot of these yellow monarchs and stuff flying around. There's a lot more this year, probably because the weather's been so warm and stuff that they've survived really well. And a lot of people are like, man, those butterflies are so beautiful. God did such a great job with them that they're so beautiful. Man, it's almost like you wish you could be a butterfly and fly around. We went to British Columbia a couple years ago, and we went to the Natural History Museum, but then we went to this little, it was a museum for butterflies. And you got to walk in this little jungle area, and butterflies were hatching all over the place. Great big ones. If you've ever been to Costa Rica, they have some blue butterflies that seriously are this big. And they're just flying around naturally there. So these people order these cocoons, these chrysalis, in there, and they hang them up, and then they're hatching all the time. So every time you go in, and it was a wonderful place. And then, what has that got to do with us? It has the fact to do, if you don't know, if you went and looked for what they started with as a caterpillar, we all think how ugly and how they destroy things. They're devastating, and they're a hazard, right? And they're not what we like. In fact, we try to spray them out. We try to get rid of them because they're so ugly. And yet, God had a purpose. It turns out a caterpillar eats about 200 times its own body weight every day in milkweed and other things that are a hazard to us anyway. And if we let them, they are serving a purpose. But to get to be a butterfly, they have to go through a metamorphic change. They go into a cocoon, they change on the inside, and they become this marvelous butterfly on the outside. There's other things that God does. He takes coal, and he puts coal under heat, pressure, time, and it becomes a diamond. The rare rock, the most valuable rock we have is a diamond. And again, when we look at coal, it's all soft, it's black, it's not very pretty, but through that time and that change, he makes it. In the Bible, we look at Jesus when he came and he picked his disciples, and if you look now and you said, Jesus, why did you pick those guys? We would all go, I don't know. It makes no sense to go out there and say, hey, fisherman, come here. I want to make you a disciple. They weren't the people you would have picked. He never picked the people for who they were today. He picked them because he knew what the change would be as they went on. Guys, he picks us that way. And we are the ones, we're ugly. Sin is ugly. And we're all sinners when we came. And through Jesus Christ, through salvation, we became beautiful to him. When you talk about fierce, God wants us to be fierce. Satan wants us to be weak. The opposite of fear is weak. And he challenges us every day to be weak. Satan does. He wants us to question ourselves. He wants us to question why we're doing what we do and what God's purpose is for all of us. Guys, it's hard. I don't imagine going through a metamorphic change from a caterpillar to a butterfly is exactly, it's amazing to even think that a caterpillar would go into that cocoon and all that change would happen physically and through all that change to become beautiful. God has a purpose for you and me. And we have to allow him the time and the effort to change us to who he wants us to be. And we're going to continue to change. He has a purpose for each and every one of us that's here today. If you're online, if you're here, that's what God wants for us, is to become the beautiful person he picked us to be. And he has a purpose for you. He has a purpose for me. I'm still learning it every day, and I have to trust that he's doing that. As we come to the table today, we need to trust him. The only way to go through a metamorphic change is to trust him and allow him to work on us, and it's going to take time. So as we take communion, learn that Jesus Christ gave his body so that we could change to become more like him. The juice represents the blood that he willingly sacrificed for us. Would you join me in prayer? Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for Jesus Christ and his willingness to die on the cross. We just pray that you'd work with us, through us, to help us to change, to become the person you want us to be. Help us to just really turn it all over to you and to believe that you'll do what we need. We just thank you for this opportunity, and we just pray today that you'd help us as we leave this church to reach out into this world to bring people to know Christ. We just thank you for these things. Amen. They're going to be passing a basket around and for your cups and for offering. And if you want, you can do it online. If you're online, you can do offering online. And again, I just tell you, it takes money to run this place, to have air conditioning, to do the things that we're doing. And we are changing lives. We've seen lots of baptisms. It isn't because of money. It is because we believe in Jesus Christ. But it does take money to run this church and to do the things that we want to do. We just thank you again for being here today.
Let's kickstart our week by thinking about how we're going to serve God as we get out in the world this week, okay? Let's stand with us and praise again.